you guys, welcome. Look at my hair. I just woke up. It is the day I'm uploading this video. Who cares? My hair's gonna be a mess. I'm filming this today. This is going up. I'm not gonna edit. There's not gonna be an intro, cute intro or outro. I'm just going to upload it because I'm lazy today and I don't feel like it. So today we are gonna go through, excuse my banshee. I have a banshee and a pterodactyl. If you didn't know, my pterodactyl is 1 and my banshee is 4. Going to be 5 next month. So today we're gonna just go through 10 quick crimes that happened on Halloween. Tomorrow we are going to do a more of a deep dive on a crime that happened on Halloween. Still don't know what crime that is. Should probably figure that out. But I just found the site and it's called The Most Frightening Crimes That Happened on Halloween. And there's 10 of them on here, so I'm not gonna read them verbatim, but I will have the site linked down below. And I'm going to tell you this. So this happened in 2004 when 3 women, their names are Lauren, Leslie, and Adrian, moved into a house together. They had a small housewarming party, and they invited, the guest list included a good friend and one of their ex-fiancés, Eric. On Halloween, Lauren woke up to the sound of footsteps on the stairs. She assumed it was one of her roommate's boyfriends and ignored it. But then she heard a terrifying, blood-curdling scream. So she ran out of the house and she hid in the backyard. After a bit, she went back inside and found that one of her roommates had been stabbed to death and the other one was quickly dying, so she called 911 and then fled the scene. Cops had no clue. They didn't know who could have done this. Even after talking to almost 1,200 people, they had no suspects. They did find DNA on 2 cigarette butts and in a drop of blood, but they didn't have a match. Almost a year later, Eric's family realized that he smoked the same uncommon brand of cigarettes. He turned himself in and confessed. And he never gave a reason why. He could have got away with this. He just went on about his life for 11 months as if nothing had happened. He even invited the mother of one of the roommates to read a Bible passage in her honor at his wedding, just 2 months after he killed him. Oh, I said it was her ex-fiancé. It's not her ex-fiancé. It was her fiancé. Spooky. If you're gonna murder somebody, don't invite their mom to read a Bible passage in their honor at your wedding. People take Halloween candy seriously is the title of the next one. Let's see. Lettle Peoples, a 55-year-old, very much grown-up person who could easily buy himself candy, forgot this on Halloween in 2011. That sentence I read verbatim, sorry. There was a bag of Halloween candy and it went missing. He had some candy and it went missing. Instead of accepting this and moving on or politely asking everyone if they had seen it, he accused his acquaintance, Maria Adams, of stealing it. And somehow, turned into a brawl. It escalated very quickly. At one point, someone threw a plate at Peoples, and he got a gash over his eye. And then Peoples pulled out a knife and stabbed Adams numerous times over some candy. Somebody there was cool-headed enough to call 911 because he was almost arrested and Adams was rushed to the hospital. Peoples was originally charged with attempted murder, but the charges were upgraded when Adams died a few days later from her wounds. Oh, excuse me. People take things way too seriously. This one's called "Everyone Needs to Quit Throwing Just Quit Throwing Eggs." There was an incident from egg throwing, apparently. The death of Carl Jackson on Halloween in 1998. He was 21 years old and driving his girlfriend and her young son home from a children's party in the Bronx. They were going to drop the child off with a babysitter and head to an adult party. But as he was driving, an egg hit the car. When Carl got out to confront the group of men responsible, they, kind of had a little argument, and then Jackson drove away. But one of the egg throwers followed them because he was angry. When Carl stopped the car a few blocks later, the youth, the guy who was angry and followed him, so I'm going to assume he was a minor, shot him in the temple. He was pronounced dead at the hospital a short time later. The killer was caught and convicted. And as of 2010, he was still behind bars. And every year he gets a special card from Carl's mother, always with the same message that says, "I'm glad you're still here." Ooh, if that ain't some passive-aggressive slap in the face. Apparently people also died from egg-related killings in New York City in 1984, 1987, 1989, 1994, 1995. Interesting. Rule 34 has a lot to answer for. 55-year-old John Douglas White was messed up in the head. I read that verbatim. Apparently, after watching all the other adult content on the internet, he started watching snuff videos of people with necrophilia. If you don't know what that means, Google it. Which sparked a light bulb to go off in his head. That he would kill his 24-year-old neighbor, Rebecca, and violate her dead body. John was a former pastor and didn't do this on a whim. He later told police that for 2 weeks he had been thinking about this. 2 whole weeks. I hate that this isn't centered. Let's fix that real quick. Are we better? Is that better? I don't know. In the early hours, so in like the AM, like early AM of 2012, he drank 5 beers to get some, liquid courage, I guess. when he broke into Rebecca's mobile home, knocked her unconscious with a mallet, strangled her with a zip tie, and once she was dead, he, did the deed. But he was too drunk to completely do the deed. Maybe a little bit of maybe too much liquid courage. The whole time, Rebecca's 3-year-old son was in the trailer. And despite just having killed his mom, John didn't feel comfortable leaving the little boy in the trailer alone. So he hung out for hours and dressed the child in his Halloween costume and delivered him to his father for trick-or-treating. When Rebecca failed to show up for work, she was reported missing, and John was almost immediately brought in for questioning and confessed to the twisted crime. He is serving at least 56 years in prison. What the freak, man? People are crazy. I'm not gonna read the title of this one because I don't even nothing going on, I don't need the government coming for me, so I'm not gonna read that title. Halloween, 1975. Martha Moxley's 15-year-old body was found in her family's yard. She had probably been killed late the night before, beaten to death with such force that the golf club used had shattered into 3 pieces. Holy shoot. The police called the attack overkill, which usually indicates the victim knew their attacker. And that there's, a personal vendetta or anger along with it. That's usually what it means when, you overkill. Or if they cover up the body, it means there's remorse, and they probably knew the victim as well. But apparently, despite evidence pointing to Michael and Timothy Skakel, the seriously disturbed neighbor brothers and friends of Martha, cops said that it must be a random attack by a hitchhiker. And that's probably just because they didn't want to believe that the teens had did it, because they were the nephews of a guy named Bobby who's affiliated with some high-profile, used to be government officials family. I'm not gonna name names, and they were insanely rich. So, years later, a private investigator interviewed the brothers. They both said that their DNA might be at the scene because they both coincidentally, at separate times, had pleased themselves at the tree that Martha's body was found under on the night she died. Police reopened the case, and evidence implicating Michael really started to pile up. He was finally put on trial and convicted in 2002, but then the appeals started, and in 2013, Michael was released on bail based mostly on the argument his lawyer had been glaringly ineffective. He was still out in 2018. Meanwhile, his family, we're not naming names, have closed ranks around him. In 2016, his cousin wrote a book claiming that the real murderers were 2 black teenagers from the Bronx. And they had killed Martha caveman style. But, you guys can click the link below if you want to know what family I'm talking about. They're always in trouble. And no, it's not the first one you're thinking of, I don't think. Anyways. So this kid is probably still out, and his brother, and they probably both committed the murders, and, because of who their family is, they got away with it. It sucks. The toolbox killers were unbelievably sick. One of the problems with prison is you have a lot of time to sit around and think. That is the first sentence of this one. Lawrence Bittaker and Roy Norris were both career criminals when they met in jail in 1978. When they were released a year later, they had come up with a sick plan. Working together, they would kidnap, torture, and kill teenage girls. What is wrong with people? They converted a bank. I've heard of this crime. Actually, now that I'm reading it. I'm reading these for the first time with you guys, just so you know. They converted a van into a mobile murder machine. And they started driving around looking for their victims. Within 2 months, they killed 5 girls, and the last died on Halloween night, 1979. Her name was Lynette Ledford, and she was 16 years old. She was kidnapped, tortured, and mutilated before being strangled. Oh, God. People are sick. Why are there so many sick people in this world? The Bittaker and Norris recorded her cries and pleas for mercy, and very much clearly enjoyed it. When she finally succumbed to, their hands, they dumped her on a suburban lawn to see how the media would react. Norris, though, he's a little egotistic, and, of course, he couldn't stop bragging about their killing spree. And one person he bragged to told the police. They were arrested, and Norris cooperated with the police and claimed that it was Bittaker who did all the killing. At the trial, the tape they made of Ledford begging for her life was played to the jury. Could you imagine having to hear that? Oh, no. Bittaker got the death penalty, but for squealing on his accomplice, Norris only got 45 years. He was probably paroled in 2019. Oh, no. Hopefully he was way too old. Maybe he died in prison. I hate saying that, but maybe. He don't need to be on them. Ooh. This next one's gonna be fun. A love triangle led to the trick-or-treat murder. Ooh, 1957. Pete Fabiano, who owns a salon? I don't know. I think it's salon. Thought his love triangle problems were over. He had just reconciled with his wife, Betty, who had been cheating on him, and they had split, and she cheated on him with a woman. And, in the 1950s, that was crazy scandalous. They were referred to in newspapers as abnormal, and they were seen as murderous degenerates, all because they were lesbian. That's not good. We don't. No. That's just no. They were horrible stereotypes, but in this case, they got the murderous part correct. I've also heard about this crime before. Betty and Joan were in a relationship. Joan did not take being dumped by Betty very well. She wanted to get revenge on Peter because he had stolen her girlfriend, but if you ask me, she had stolen his wife, but whatever. But she didn't want to do the killings herself. You know, that would be too obvious. And so for over a month, she talked about Peter to Golden Pizer, who was a friend. Goldine had never met him, but from what Joan had said to her, she had built up a deep, intense hatred for him. And that would be because, it doesn't say this in this article, but from me hearing this case before, Joan would tell her that he was vile, evil, wanted to destroy all the people around him, he was abusive, and things like that, and that he deserved to die. So, Joan took Goldine, and they went together to buy a gun and 2 bullets. They sat in a car outside the Fabiano's house on Halloween night. Eventually, dressed in a costume and a mask, with the gun in the paper bag, Goldine went to the door and rang the bell. And Peter, answering it, expecting trick-or-treaters, got shot and died soon after. Despite trying to cover their tracks, they were arrested and convicted of second-degree murder. Oh, good grief. I think we got 3 more. Listen, people. Don't go after people who are taken. Just don't. Then you won't have to murder anybody. What is wrong with people? The Jersey Shore thrill killer still had his mom. Halloween, 1981, around 6 p.m. Maria, 17 years old, told her parents she was going out and would be home by midnight. A cop did see her walking down the street at midnight, and just 10 minutes later came back to offer her a ride, but she had vanished. For 18 months, nobody knew what happened to her, until her body was found in a shallow grave cut up into 3 pieces along with another corpse. They were in the yard of Richard, not even going to try and pronounce his last name, but Richard's mother's house. Richard was a demon from day one. At just 5 years old, he tried to burn down his family home, and then he got more dangerous and more wild with each passing year. Robbery, car theft. By 18, he had killed a guy and was sent to prison for 17 years. And when he got out of prison, he was quickly back to his old ways. In 1983, things began to quickly unravel for him. 2 boys found a body in some bushes. This led to an accomplice of Richard's who totally squealed. Soon the ex-con was connected to 5 new bodies, including Maria's, and he was dubbed the Jersey Shore thrill killer. And do you want to know what his motive was? He apparently just wanted to see someone die. And Richard was now headed back to prison for life this time. But his mother has always been by his side. She tells reporters that she still loves him and that she will still care for him and still visit him. That's how strong a mother's love is, you guys. I don't know, though. I don't know. On Halloween 2011, Frank Alba, a fully grown adult with all his faculties, had forgotten that the rules of pranking, which are, if you're going to try a prank, does this have the potential to kill anyone? Well, he forgot this rule. Instead, he decided it would be fun to traumatize some children for life. He planned a prank with a friend, And he knew that the kids nearby in his neighborhood would be returning from trick-or-treating, so he was going to be ready for them. He dressed in a bloody apron and grabbed a real, actual chainsaw, and he hid in the bushes and waited. The children approached, and he jumped out of his hiding place, revving the real, actual chainsaw right in their face. They were scared out of their minds and fled. One of them, Leslie Garcia, ran into the busy road and was hit by a truck. She sustained serious injuries to her head, neck, arms, legs, back, and spine, some of which were permanent. Her family sued Alba, saying he had to know that waving a chainsaw around could lead to kids getting hurt or dying, not to mention they will probably be waking up screaming every night for the next few decades. And it doesn't say what the outcome of the lawsuit was, but in my opinion, he should be getting charged with murder. Okay, last one. Johnny Frank Garrett started an international conversation on insanity and the death penalty in America. In 1981, on Halloween, at 17 years old, Garrett got drunk and high on LSD. He broke into a convent to steal a stereo, and it ended up being 1,000,000 times worse. He went into the bedroom of 76-year-old sister Tadia Benz and Arthur. We can't say that word here. Then he stabbed and strangled her to death. He was sentenced to die, but a lot of people started questioning if the sentence was fair. His lawyer said that he was insane, suffering from multiple personality disorder, and simply too crazy to kill. I don't know how I feel about that, but it was pretty much brought down to his childhood, because since a mental health expert who examined him said the killer had one of the most virulent histories of abuse and neglect that he has encountered in 28 years of practice. Amnesty International opposed his execution, and even Pope John Paul II and the nuns from the victim's convent asked for mercy. Despite all of that, Garrett was executed by lethal injection in 1992 at the age of 28. He declared his innocence until the day he died. People are crazy. Listen, y'all. Stay home on Halloween. Keep your doors locked. Don't go out. Don't take your kids trick-or-treating. Buy them some candy. Let them dress up in a Halloween costume. And watch movies and eat pizza. We don't need to take our kids out. It's too dangerous out there. No, I'm just kidding. Take your kids out. Have fun. Be vigilant. And stay safe. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.